I will do my best to talk without going into a coughing attack. Hi everybody, it's Becca the Book Dragon. This is January 1st. It's just a little after 8 o'clock. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update. I have been extremely sick now for 5 weeks. Starting tomorrow, January 2nd, it'll be exactly 6 weeks since I became ill around Thanksgiving. Those of you who know my channel, outside of doing what I love, which is this, I also work 3 part-time jobs. And right now, I have only been able to depend on one of them because the other one includes my voice and I have to be around people for the other one. So I've just been doing, on my end, a lot of online tutoring, and I restricted my vocal sessions until this is resolved. I did want to make a video for the year. I literally just finished my last junk journal from my BFF, and I will have that video, the full video, posted. There was a lot involved because it was the most decorative junk journal I ever made. I've been on 2 antibiotics and now I'm on steroids. So, and I also have my inhaler. I could have developed adult asthma. I honestly don't know. I've never had anything this bad in a very, very long while. And I've been referred to a pulmonologist just to keep you guys updated, just to see if there could be something else going on, but who knows. I was looking online. I'll be making a change to the name of my podcast, possibly maybe before the end of the month. And I also will be changing the YouTube handle so that my I'll be easier to search online. So, and I've also have a bunch of goals that I would like to get on for this year. Now, fingers crossed, knock on wood, I did hear back from a few people who a friend of mine had reached out because I met her in archery class. You can also watch our video below. This was Osiris Munir of Ankh Entertainment. So far, she's been the only entertainment personality that I happen to meet just by chance. And she's working on a new story that I'm looking forward to reading, hopefully soon. And some other goals that I have for this year. I'm sure that you all have New Year's resolutions and goals that you would like to set for this year. And if I share any of those with you, then come with me on this personal journey. The next part that I'll be focusing on is the wrap-up of the 2024 PopSugar Reading Challenge. So stay tuned for that. I did the 2024 PopSugar Reading Challenge list, and I wrote all these titles down. The ones that are highlighted are the ones that I literally completed. There is one that is circled with an orange highlighter. That's because I got about halfway before the end of the year. I was so depressed. This was a tough year because I started working and I was also doing training. So again, that also took over, but depression really, really takes it out of you. You just don't really want to do anything. It's tough. But I will go over the ones that I was able to do. I did mention I did start off with these guys. Let's start off with the first one. So one of the challenges on the 2024 was, it was an advanced prompt, a collection of at least 24 poems. So this was poems on friendship. This was a freebie that was given to me after I made a purchase of Barnes & Noble. I'm not even sure what it was I got that particular day, but this was a freebie. They had like 3 of these little books of poetry, and this one I took. What I would like to do, and I'll do that outside, you'll notice that some of the pages are flagged. I will need to do a separate book video for the books later on. So that will be for that. The next one that I did that was a regular prompt, a book by a blind or visually impaired author. Now, I did say that I recently, this year, I had heard about Paul Castle, the author and artist of The Pengrooms and The Secret Ingredient. I love these two. And I read these to the client that I was working with as a BI outside of my YouTube video. These are just beautiful. They're beautiful children's books, and I will do a separate video review of them too. But it's interesting that The Secret Ingredient was banned, challenged. What could possibly have made this book challenging? I focused on the words, and for those of you who don't know Paul Castle, he's married, I believe, yeah, he's married to Matthew, and they made a life for themselves. And Paul just recently released Adoroscopes, which I also would like to purchase. But it's all that particular book is all about inclusion, and there seems to be a lot of that missing from children's books, I think. And I truly believe there needs to be more. So these two check off that particular task. Oh yeah, the one that I started at the beginning of the year was a book with a title that is a complete sentence. So it said, "Get a Life, Chloe Brown." This was by Talia Hibbert. I know that she's written a couple more since this book. A book with 24 letters in the title. I originally had The House in the Cerulean Sea. I haven't read that one yet, but I did get to read RuPaul, and I do have the book review of this one, which I absolutely loved. And I hope that RuPaul, that you got a chance to see that. I was very surprised as to how much I truly connected to this. I had to edit down the video a lot because it was over 2 hours, but this was excellent. So that marked off that challenge. The next one, now I don't, this one was a library book, and it's called The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis. This meets the advanced prompt of the 24th book of an author. So C.S. Lewis is famous for the Chronicles of Narnia. I had no idea that he had written other books as well, and this was one of them. So The Four Loves is it's like an essay collection of the 4 types of love that he discusses. I know one is charity, one is friendship. I forgot what the other 2 are. They're in my they are in my journal, so I'll have to go over that. The one that followed was one of the regular prompts, a book about pirates. I originally had The Wager or Black Flags and Blue Waters. One of my favorite authors is a descendant of one of the witches, 2 of the accused witches of the Salem witch trials, Elizabeth Proctor and Elizabeth Howe. Howe was the one who ended up getting, who was executed. Proctor was the one who survived. But Catherine Howe is a descendant of both of these witches of Salem. And apparently, I had no idea that she loved Salem. So she wrote this. Her paperback came out around late September, mid-November. I was hoping to get back with her on that, but I didn't hear anything. But I did finally read a true account. This is called Hannah Massery's Sojourn Amongst the Pirates, written by herself. What's interesting about Catherine Howe is that her signature type of story plot has to do with the past and the present. You got 2 stories, sort of like, they're kind of parallel at first, and then they slowly start to meet at a crossroads. There were some twists and turns in this. I kind of got lost in it just a little bit, but about halfway through it, as you can see, these pages are flagged. There was a lot. And because I do have a story in mind about maritime history and mermaids, and I wouldn't say piracy, but it has to do with man against nature. That's one of the 7 major literary conflicts. So, but I loved the terms that she used in this book, and I will do a separate video book review of this one later on. So this one meets the pirate task. And then the one that I literally just managed maybe like 2 weeks before the end of the year, I read the king of horror himself, Stephen King. on writing a memoir of the craft. It's interesting what my, one of the interviewees that I had was Rabbi Karen Kader, and she has this book on her shelf. She said that if you read the book, you'll notice that halfway there's a change in his writing. The first part, it's interesting. He says he doesn't claim that this is an autobiography. It kind of is, but it focuses on times when his mind as a writer started to, you can say, come to fruition, those that were his greatest influences when it comes to character and so on and so forth. Halfway through on writing, I think it's about page 141. This is where it starts to make that change in the writing. He becomes more insightful of the writing process. And then I had no idea just how bad of a major accident that he was in back in 1999. He was almost, he could have been killed. And by a driver who already had 12 road violations. Who continues to let a person out like that? And you think about the families today that have been affected by drivers who were driving under the influence, who were not paying attention, and who automatically changed the lives of so many. Already, the death toll in New Orleans, and I did not know anything about this until later today, has risen to 15. Truck drove straight into a parade of onlookers in New Orleans. Again, terrorism. There is no room for it in this country. This is a new year, and we need to, something's got to be done about that. But yeah, pay attention to the road when you're driving, because as the song goes, highway don't care, but I do. So this Stephen King's book meets a book that was published 24 years ago. So that was 2000 was when On Writing was published. The last one I was going to attempt to finish, and I was so close. And the book is great. I want my own copy. A book with a neurodivergent main character. Now, the author herself basically is the main character, and it's called Different Not Less by Australian actress Chloe Hayden. I've already gotten halfway through, and I cannot believe the amount of abuse that she suffered in school. I thought that I suffered enough from that, but bullying goes around. It really does. But the book is excellent. But I realized on this new list that her book will definitely fit in with the 2025 challenge. And I will get to that in just a minute. This is my Tumblr, by the way, that I got on Amazon. There is no such thing as too many books, because I am a book lover. I love this Tumblr. It's heavy as sin, but it's perfect. It holds 34 ounces, and I will get to health later on in this video. The other books that I read that are not on the on the PopSugar Reading Challenge list, these were the 5. I wanted to do a video of this earlier, and I'm going to anyway later on, but these were the 5 books that I bought from Jimmy Huston from Cosworth Publishing. I am glad I stopped by that book tent of Cosworth Publishing at the LA Festival of Books earlier, now last year in April. Because I was working, I was being trained as a behavior interventionist. These books were the bundle for teachers, and I absolutely loved every single one of them. Some of them are still flagged. So we have the Attention Deficit Disorder Hyperactivity Cookbook, the OCD Fun Book. Now I understand why this thing has a bubble wrap cover on it. Autism for Beginners. This one these books I would give a 5 out of 5. This one, the I Hate to Read book, I'm next. I would give it a 3, maybe. But I mean, if you have a child that doesn't like to read, have him read a page and take a break. And the other one is the Dyslexic Handbook. I have to tell you, the OCD Fun Book, it's one of those books where suddenly you feel like your own life is being told in a book. And this one, I actually started to hyperventilate and I almost passed out. because I cannot believe that I actually do have OCD, but not the kind that you think. Completely opposite. But these 5, well, actually, no. These 4, I definitely would recommend for every teacher to have, or anyone who wants to go into special education, even parents and students. You guys can check this out. If you have these conditions, these will teach you a lot more if you have questions. And then what was really sweet, they gave me like this little catalog of all the books that come with it. The other book I bought from that venue, from their publishing, was Shanghai Torah. I was reading it and then I got sidetracked. And the other 2 were the ones that I bought at Vroman's that were not on the PopSugar Reading Challenge. I also did a video of these 2. Ziana Michaels' Lily of the Valley and The Sorcerer Queen. Both books in great prose. And I wrote to her. And she called me. And she actually shipped over 2 of her other books, and I will get to those later in the video, because they both meet this next PopSugar Reading Challenge and my book challenge from my author website. So I will get to that list next. I forgot to let you guys know about something. I have 3 more books that have been added to my library collection. Let's start with the first one, The World of Ornament. Of course, this is by Tan Shen. I got this at the Huntington shop, the Huntington Museum shop, when my girlfriend and I went to the Huntington to see. I'm going to have to look back at the exhibition title, but it was for the first time that we actually went there for a night exhibition, and it definitely was set up for that kind of beautiful atmosphere. And one of the reasons that we went was because they had this group of professional falconers, and they showed us each of their falcons and birds. It was really something. And then we saw some really interesting exhibitions. Again, you better have good walking shoes for the Huntington Museum, that's for sure. Then my dad and I stopped at we stopped at Five Below. I guess it's like another 99-cent store, Dollar Tree kind of a store. And I just happened to find this, the unofficial Harry Potter Hogwarts Handbook. There was something in here that I found interesting, and I had no idea that this was situated in the remote reaches of the Scottish Highlands. The ancient wizarding institution is the first place the boy who lived truly feels at home. Reaches of the Scottish Highlands. I must have missed something. I'm going to have to go back to the books. But I just got it because I'm a Harry Potter fan, and there you go. And then recently, I happened to get this one, The Backyard Birth Chronicles by Amy Tan. I think I read 1 or 2 of Amy Tan's books so far, and I also have her author autobiography. I actually watched the documentary. I thought it was fabulous. So these are 3 new ones to add to my collection. So let's get on with the 2025 PopSugar Reading Challenge then. So the PopSugar Reading Challenge came with not just the book task, but this time they also have a bunch of other printables, including their journal printables, their book Instagram tracker, and I think one other printable. But anyway, I'm going to go over the titles, and I will show you the library of books that I was going to use for the 2024 book reading challenge. So let me actually go back and grab that list real quick so I can show you. Let's start off with the first 40 prompts. I think a couple of them I'm going to skip over because I want to let you guys know I have a list for that particular task, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to do. So starting with the first one, a book about a POC, person of color, experiencing joy and not trauma. This title came up, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. A book you want to read based on the last sentence. Now this actually goes with one of the library books. So let me grab that real quick. I was reading this book before and I didn't get to finish it. I was maybe like 50 pages in. There's just so much to the story. But this is, of course, the night circus. You are no longer quite certain which side of the fence is the dream. So originally, I was going to read the night circus for 2024, yes, a book that was written during NaNoWriMo. A book about space tourism. Okay. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I was reading that for the 2024 challenge. And again, depressive episodes. And I kind of got a little lost. Where did I have that one down here? Yeah. For prompt 18 in the 2024, it was a book set in space. But I will try the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy again. A book with 2 or more books on the cover or book in the title. Ex Libris, 100 Books to Read and Reread by Michiko Kakutani. Also use Ex Libris because it does mention a few other books that meet one of the other tasks. Ex Libris I was going to read this for 2024. This was for a book with a one-word title you had to look up in the dictionary. It has to do, if I'm not mistaken, with the book label. So this one lists a bunch of the book titles that are, 100 of them that are meant to be on your bookshelf. That's up for you to decide. I'll decide for myself too. The other one is also The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. A book with a snake on the cover or in the title. Now, I believe I have a couple of books that may have the snake in the title or on the cover. But the one that I wrote down here is the Essex Serpent. And if I'm not mistaken, that has to do with Massachusetts. But if you want to talk about a snake on the cover, there is the Never-Ending Story. You have the emblem of the intertwined snake called the Orin, and that's the amulet that Atreyu wears around his neck. I loved the Never-Ending Story. A book that fills your favorite prompt from the 2015 PopSugar Reading Challenge. Now, I didn't start the PopSugar Reading Challenge of 2015. I started the one in 2016. So I looked back on the 2015 one. I chose a nonfiction book. Now, I want to read the majority of the books that I have for my story research that are, most of them are nonfiction. But I do have a couple of library books in here that are nonfiction. I had been looking into green burial. And that means a more environmentally friendly way of being laid to rest. And so these two, this one is called Greening Death, Reclaiming Burial Practices and Restoring Our Tie to the Earth by Susan Kelly. And the other one is the Green Burial Guidebook. This might be the one that I read before. It's called Everything You Need to Plan an Affordable, Environmentally Friendly Burial. In 2021, when I had to go in for thyroid surgery, they had asked me if I had made a California directive. This is for like just a protective final plan if anything happens and you're not able to speak for yourself. So luckily I made it through that surgery. I never want to go through that again. But then a year later, I had to have a hysterectomy, and it was not the operation I wanted. I just had it in my gut. It was so weird. I thought I was going to die on the operating table. This thing was pretty big. It was a cancer concern. So I was preparing myself for that final day. I had a virtual video with some of our friends from up north. I had family calling me. I was just not prepared for this. And I wrote out a little rough draft of a last will and testament. It was just to say to my parents, this is what I want done. This is what goes to whom, and so on and so forth. And that time I did fill out the California directive, and I had one of my girlfriends sign it for me as a witness. So it really makes you, it really helps you to prepare. And I'm just looking at, luckily, thank goodness, both of my grandparents had jobs, and one of them actually worked at Mount Sinai. So they were able to get a deal on burial plots, but things are changing. So this is just an interesting way of looking at ways to be more environmentally friendly. A book about a cult. Okay, I'm going to discuss this one. I chose I have a couple of books here that I'm going to read by John Krakauer, because I did have one of his books that I taught for my students, and I will get to that later. But one of the books that he wrote that I was very surprised, it was entitled Under the Banner of Heaven. I've never read it, but I've seen the Hulu series with, of course, my favorite actor, Andrew Garfield. But what Under the Banner of Heaven discusses, the problem when it becomes a cult is because the leaders have some kind of what Rabbi Karen Kader had mentioned about having something about the mental psyche that can't distinguish the literal word, what is being stated in the text, to what we're facing now. It goes back to something that I saw in Whoopi Goldberg's Back to Broadway, in one of her early segments of the show. She was talking about the Bible and how, people just say it and make it and eat it. But are they to take it literally? What had happened in Under the Banner of Heaven was that you have the Lafferty family, who are supposed to be the ultimate, the epitome of Mormonism. They are the ones that have set the standard. However, the Lafferty brothers, a few of them, kind of went off the rails. They took the Book of Mormon and they were trying to figure out why was not everything going their way in order to please the Holy Father. And so what was going on is that in Under the Banner of Heaven, for those of you that don't know what it's about, Brenda Lafferty and her daughter were murdered in the most gruesome way possible. And Jeb Pyrie, who was played by Andrew Garfield, is trying to figure out who could have murdered two members of the Lafferty family. Something like this does not happen in a small town. And everyone knows everyone else. But because everyone knows everyone else, there also seems to be this hush-hush atmosphere. The Lafferty brothers, as they discover later on, looked at the Book of Mormon and they discovered certain things have been censored. What was the original text? What were the original intentions of the real Mormons? So as they're trying to go back and learn about the real ways of Mormonism, the things that were censored out, they wanted to bring back in. And unfortunately, they took it literally. It would be like someone today taking the Quran or the Old Testament or the New Testament, taking the words literally, that if you do this, you shall be put to death. They say it and mean it, and whoosh, half the audience is gone. Jeb Pyrie's job is to figure out who murdered Brenda and her daughter. Are the Laffertys in trouble? Are other members of the family in trouble? Is there anyone else involved in this? And it's all very, very secretive. And I'm going to have to read the book for myself, but it really does discuss about the dangers of cults. And for me, I don't believe religion is a cult. To me, a cult would be a group that is it's just something where people get an idea of the perfect utopia, this perfect world, and there are no flaws. That to me is a cult. And because it eventually becomes a dystopia. A book under 250 pages. I was going to read the reader for the 2024 challenge for something. Let me see where that was. Oh, a book set 24 years before I was born. So the book period was set 24 years before mine. So the reader that'll be set for 2025. A book that features a character going through menopause. Ooh, touchy subject. One of them is Fried Green Tomatoes by Franny Flagg. Movie is famous. And this one is, there's an English term for that, but it's like a before and after. It's called Amazing Grace Adams. You got Amazing Grace in there, then you followed by Adams. So I thought those two would be good. A book you got for free. Okay, let's talk about the freebies. And I'm gonna have to look for the two books that I got for free because I think they're at the bottom of the book pile. Okay. So going back to, I'll skip prompt 10 for the moment. A book mentioned in another book. So Ex Libris, that I mentioned before, they mentioned a few books in here that I do have a copy of, and I don't need to go to the library for it. So these are 4 titles that were listed. The Odyssey by Homer, The Namesake, Moby Dick by Herman Melville, and The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat by Oliver Sacks. Book prompt number 12, a book about a road trip. I got these 2 books by William Least Heat Moon. One of them is called Blue Highways, and that's the one I'm going to read for this challenge. The other book of his I have is called River Horse. And if I'm not mistaken, they are somewhere in my public storage cabinet. And I will be doing a video of my library spread out and dispersed all over the house. So that'll be completely separate. A book rated less than 3 stars on Goodreads. So I did read Jude Devereaux's novel A Knight in Shining Armor, which is supposed to be the top of the books that she's written on Goodreads ratings. But this one here I'm going to take a look at, called The Taming. I'm wondering if that has something to do with The Taming of the Shrew. Could be a possible adaptation of the play. Maybe. A book about a non-traditional education. Right off the bat, I highly recommend everyone get this one. Educated by Tara Westover. This reminds me very much of a cult that she was in. Her family and a lot more, they believed in something called Y2K. And for some reason that had to do with the end of the world, having to do with the Mayan calendar, the year of our Lord. And when that doesn't happen, she's like, why was I taught all this? She's taught in a very non-traditional way, and she works to get away from that kind of really heavy religious environment. And what she goes through, she's almost killed by a member of the family. I'm not going to give it away, but Educated, I highly recommend. I've already read this, so I don't need. I could read it again, but I want to read books that I haven't read yet. The one I have listed down here, now I had no idea that, if I'm not mistaken, if someone can confirm if this is a comic book series, The Umbrella Academy. Now, non-traditional education. Non-traditional is basically, as a teacher, I was still teaching a type of traditional way of teaching in the class. But our school was alternative. Students can take classes, or they could complete their work in packets for the courses that they had to complete in order to graduate. And it could be more one-on-one. The class sizes were small. The highest class, once I started at this alternative school setting, was, I think the largest class I had was 25 at first. And then when we moved to another center, the highest class I had was like 16. That is ideal for all classes nowadays, because the average teacher alone will have 180 to 185 students max. And sometimes the teachers have wait lists. I had one art teacher that I had as a master teacher when I was going for my student teacher sessions. She actually opened up her break period, so she had no break for the classes. All teachers who teach high school and middle school, they are required to have a break period to grade papers, to relax a little bit, to recharge, fix up anything, and so on and so forth. That gives them their time. So she literally had, that year she had no break. I don't know if that changed afterwards, because her class I think I had was 42, and then the last high school that I was at before I subbed for a time, I think the highest was 48. That's killing it. And I really think now, because of what's been happening with, again, the continuous school shootings, a lot of parents, one that I met recently, not too long ago when I did go to the Huntington Museum, I met her and her family. They came from Palm Springs. She's telling me that she homeschools her kids. She doesn't trust the school system. And I have another friend whose boys are in elementary. She's planning to take them out when it comes to middle school. She doesn't trust it. So I feel for the parents who want their son or daughter to be homeschooled, but they have no way of doing that. So I'm wondering if there's a way that a teacher could actually create a type of homeschool where the students can actually go to for their studies. That way that they can progress faster if they want to. They're in the right grade and so on and so forth, which is kind of what Options for Youth and Opportunities for Learning does. It gives them that type of alternative environment. And then there's other schools as well. But students also, it's no excuse for you to be absent from school unless you are absolutely sick. ADA is so important to keep the schools open. So keep that in mind. Okay. This I had a little bit of trouble with here, but a book that an AI chatbot recommends based on your favorite book. I wrote Fahrenheit 451, and I'm not sure if it didn't do it correctly. Now, anytime when you type in something on Google search, it will come up with something called an AI overview. So I kind of look at that as a type of chatbot. But also I looked to Chat GPT, and I typed in Victorian book library, and some of these titles came up, and one of them I do have, but these other titles look promising. The Library at Night, The Victorian Web, that looked really interesting to read. House of the Seven Gables by Nathaniel Hawthorne. And of course, The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. A book set in or around a body of water. Now I have two books written here. One is The Light Between Oceans, but that can also be set for another book prompt. The one I think I'm going to do is called We the Drowned. This is the big one right here. By Karsten Jensen. This is like what do they call it? The Odyssey, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Moby Dick, The Old Man and the Sea, and now We the Drowned. It's like, that's from the Scotsman UK. It's like all of those mixed into one. It's an odyssey of ships at sea. It's absolutely incredible. So this is one of those. This is probably going to be the last one I read for the year. Maybe. We'll have to see. Let me carefully put this one down on the floor with kid gloves. Books, prompt 17. A book about a run club. I chose The End of the World Running Club. So it's like there's this big cataclysmic thing taking place. This man is trying to get back to his family, and he has to run so many miles in order to get to them before it's the end. Kind of like Deep Impact. A book containing, okay, prompt 18. A book containing magical creatures that aren't dragons. Now, on my challenge list, it goes completely separate. On mine, it lists as one of the last challenges, a book that is about magical creatures that include or do not include dragons. So a Tolkien bestiary is the one that could possibly meet that prompt, as well as this one. But if you look on the cover, it does include dragons, so I can sort of say yes and no. But I do have a few others that do not. And I bought two other books. One is called The Unicorn Handbook. One is called The Fairy Handbook. The one I have here is The Mermaid Handbook. So it's an alluring treasury of literature, lore, art, recipes, and projects. I already read the unicorn one. I could read. Actually, I was in the middle of reading this one. And I guess I didn't finish it. Okay. Well, I guess I get to read this one then. This one I bought earlier. It's called Fairies, Real Encounters with the Little People by Janet Board. I'm going to get back to prompt. Okay, so I need to get back to prompt 10, a book you got for free. I will come back to prompt 19, a highly anticipated read of 2025. All those titles are right here. So I will leave that list for last. A book that fills a 2024 prompt you like to do over or try out. Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses. Yeah, originally I was going to read it for prompt 27 in 2024, a book where someone dies in the first chapter. Prompt 21, a book where the main character is a politician. Phineas Finn came up by Anthony Trollope, and again, that particular book of mine is somewhere located in my public storage cabinet. 22, I'm not a sports fan, but this was interesting. A book about soccer, how soccer explains the world. The reason why I chose that particular title is because it goes back to when I was teaching my kids in ERWC, Expository Reading and Writing Curriculum. And one of these articles was talking about how certain articles, certain texts are not considered scholarly. They're not considered academic. But to a student who loves sports, they can take the text of any kind of, even a sports magazine. They can actually use that text to their advantage. So if you're someone who loves sports, who says that a sports article can't be academic? It's academic. It is. And the reason it is because you can question what the article is telling you. You can read between the lines. You can also figure out who wrote the article. If it's a sports article, was it written by a woman or was it written by a man? You need to put on the mask of both authors. If the woman said this, what would a man say about it? Or if a man said this about this type of sport, how would a woman approach it? A book that is considered healing fiction. This is a must, and I believe everyone must have this book on their shelf. I bought it because it was so good, and I'm hoping to reach out to him again. Matt Haig's The Midnight Library. Those of you that are stuck in a rut and you don't know what to do with your life, if you're kind of at that point where you're thinking about changing careers, or if you're thinking about giving it all in, think again. Read this book before you decide anything. Your life will be changed by it. Now, since I've already read it, I'm going to choose a different one. And the one that I chose, he's written this, he's a Japanese author, and he's written a bunch of them. But this one says, Before the Coffee Gets Cold. And I'll have the author's name displayed up here. But these are stories of fiction, but how the stories unfold, they're meant to be a type of healing. It's almost like a type of nostalgia for anyone who reads it, that if this person doesn't find a reason to live, all they need to do is pick up that book and read it, or even just catharsis for them, that it'll be healing for them to recharge and relax, chill, reevaluate themselves, and discover that there's more to their life than this. So that's how I see it. A book with a happily single protagonist. The Personal Librarian. Okay, so 2 books that I got for free, and one of them could actually go with the book with my book reading challenge. So Ziana Michaels was bless her. She was kind enough to actually ship me the other 2 books that I did not see in the store. This one is called Mindel and the Misfit Dragons, a magical tale by an ancient hand. I thought that was really cool. And believe it or not, it's a Jewish story that includes dragons. I'm gonna have to read this. And the other one is called The Alchemy of Illuminated Poetry. Right up my alley. 7 Steps to Your Personal Gold. Just gorgeous. Look at the foiling on this. Absolutely beautiful. I do have a library book that I was going to read for the last one, and it can also fit with this prompt. Prompt 25, a book where the main character is an immigrant or a refugee. The Map of Salt and Stars. I was going to read this for, which prompt was that for 2024, just out of curiosity? Prompt 39, a fiction book by a trans or non-binary author. So that's Jennifer Zainab Jokedar, who's the author of this one. The other one, like I said, I'm trying to read a lot of the books for my research. It's actually called The Rise of David Levinsky by Abraham Kahan. And he was the co-founder of the Jewish Daily Forward. I'm not sure if the Bintel Brief was included in that or if it was its own separate newspaper. I'll have to look. But this was one of the books that I had to, and it's used. I actually had to read this for, once I was going to do my adult mitzvah at my temple, that's when I decided, okay, I'm actually going to put this to my advantage and I'm going to get my Jewish studies minor. And that's what I ended up doing. So I had a class of Jewish literature, and this was one of the books that we had to read. Now, I don't remember if I read the entire thing. Oftentimes in college, you're supposed to read segments of books, but this book it was either supplemental material or it was one of the books that we were supposed to read. It may be one of those books as the late Jeffrey Palmer, who played Lionel Hardcastle on As Time Goes By, said, well, it's one of those books I think I read, but actually haven't. Okay. A book where an adult character changes careers. I have The Bookshop on the Corner. Now, for anyone who is thinking about changing their career as an adult, and this goes for teens as well, if you're not sure what you're supposed to do with your life and where you're at currently, I would highly recommend going to the site, What Color is Your Parachute? There are questions and quizzes you can take, and you can even read the books yourself. Maybe you've been at a job where it's not fulfilling you to your full potential, and the books are updated every year. The manuals are updated every year. So I would definitely check them out. The author's name is Richard Bowles, Bolles, and it's called What Color is Your Parachute? I'll check that out. A book set at a luxury resort. I'm wondering if I'm going to become like Joey Tribbiani on Friends, where he and Rachel switched books of The Shining and Little Women, and Rachel discovers that he has The Shining in the freezer. That's the book I have for this prompt by Stephen King. Gotta get myself prepared for that one. A book that features an unlikely friendship. I was going to read this book for one of the challenges. I'm not sure which one that was, but it's Evelyn Waugh's Brideshead Revisited. And I'm not sure, the actor Andrew Garfield was supposed to be in a film adaptation of this. I'm not sure if that's even going on anymore. Now, this is a first. A book about a food truck. Food trucks. These are the guys that you'll see on the street every Wednesday or at the farmer's market. This title looked cute. Donuts and Other Proclamations of Love. Who doesn't love donuts? I grew up on Winchell's Donuts. That was my happy place. Just delicious. A book that reminds you of your childhood. Well, during my childhood in the 90s and in high school, the Northridge Mall was my home away from home. I think I was there almost every weekend. And some of the stores that, oh my God, as a kid, I missed those stores so much. There was Natural Wonders, there was the Imaginarium, there was Sanrio, there was the San Francisco Music Box Company. And when Borders Bookstore opened up in Northridge, you couldn't keep me away from that. 2 stories of a book palace. I was so jealous. I want that. Once Borders Bookstore opened up, that was it. And I'm losing the headband again, sorry. But this one looked interesting, talking about department stores that I would be visiting in and out all the time. This is written by a Korean author, and I hope I say it right. The Dallergut Dream Department Store. It looks really cool. It looks very kawaii almost on the cover. So let me adjust my headband before I go on. A book where music plays an integral part of the storyline. Now, I have been waiting for this book from the library, but it was called Beethoven's Letters. But the other one that I want to read, just in case it doesn't come in time, I think it's the biggest book ever written by Mitch Albom, and it's called The Magic Strings of Frankie Presto. So, like The Book Thief, where death narrates the story, in this one it says, the voice of music narrates the tale of its most beloved disciple, Frankie Presto, a Spanish war orphan raised by a blind music teacher. A book about an overlooked woman in history. A little bit of a story behind this one. Queen Salome. No, not Salome, who wanted the head of John the Baptist. This is Jerusalem's warrior monarch of the 1st century BCE. Now, students, if you were in my time, back in the early 80s and 90s, we had our blue social studies book, and you either read it as, 3000 BC, which meant before Christ, or you read it as 1921 AD, which is Anno Domini. In Jewish culture, and I think it's changed now, but now they call it BCE, before the Common Era. If you see CE, it means Common Era. So that was before that time. This was just on a whim if there was any kind of information about this woman. Believe it or not, I have this TV classics of like comedians and talk show hosts like Lawrence Welk and Jackie Gleason, and of course you got Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks. And Mel Brooks always performed as the 2,000-year-old man. And in this one segment, he was wearing a white wig, and he was talking about Shakespeare. And they were having an argument about, they were kind of having a debate as to how many plays he wrote. 38 plays. And Reiner was like, yeah, but only 37 were listed. And he says, yeah, well, one bombed. I happen to have money in that play. He says, would you put your nickel on this? And I said, yeah, this was a beauty. Yeah, it was Queen Alexandra and Murray. So when he said that, I got to thinking, wait a minute. Was there such a person as Queen Alexandra? Believe it or not, a woman named Queen Salome Alexandra, who was Jerusalem's first warrior monarch. Who would have thought? And I just kept going back to that segment of that comedic duo's genius, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like I can write a story behind Queen Salome Alexandra. Who would be her equivalent? And the story I'm kind of looking at is Midnight in Paris, where the writer goes back to the 1920s and he's being mentored by the people of his favorite era. So that's kind of like where the story is going, but at least she's overlooked. Not anymore. I'm going to learn all about Queen Salome Alexandra. They'll have me to reckon with. I'm going to come back to, okay, so this one I can talk about. A book featuring an activity on your bucket list. So there's a few that I'd like to try. I have already met 2 of them this last year. I was very surprised. I learned how to play the harp. I need to get back to it. I started archery classes, which was fabulous. Some of my other favorite activities on my bucket list. I would love to learn how to do macrame. I would love to learn how to play the violin, the dulcimer. I'd actually like to try horseback riding. I mean, I did ride horses before, but that was part of like a touring thing in Yosemite. Writing, completing an actual novel this time instead of a children's story. Book art. Junk journaling is a type of book art. So book arts is more like books that are made into like specific folds, like accordion books or hardbound, different shaped kind of books. And then of course there's illuminated manuscripts. My opera story I was sort of hinting at, that is what I would like to turn into a fully illuminated manuscript. I mean, I have a bunch of books about how to make illuminated manuscripts and the history of them. But this is The Secret Lives of Medieval Manuscripts. It's called The Gilded Page. But I would love to learn about how to make my own medieval manuscript. The other one that is on my activity bucket list, you can actually do this. People have volunteered to be overnight lighthouse keepers. I would love to do that. I would actually love to be a lighthouse innkeeper. I think that would be so cool to do. Just to do it one time. And speaking of going back to writing, there it goes. So this book in particular talks about a lighthouse keeper and his wife. This is called The Light Between Oceans. So a book written, okay, this is one that everyone needs to have on their shelves, including teachers and special ed teachers and behavior interventionists. A book written by an author who is neurodivergent. I am talking, oh my God, I am going to get my copy. Different, Not Less by Chloe Hayden. Chloe, kudos to you for writing this, because I wish I had this when I was growing up. I don't know if I am autistic. I was never diagnosed. But I am gifted in some way, but a little bit differently. But man, this is how far I've gotten so far. I'm about halfway through. I want to finish it. And Neurodivergence Guide to Embracing Your True Self and Finding Your Happily Ever After. What I love about this book, man, she could be my sister at this point. She makes connections. She applies the Disney films to every part of her life. And the three she discusses are The Lion King, Aladdin, and my personal favorite, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Number one. To me, that was the last greatest Disney film of Disney's second golden age. All the films after that were just paled in comparison. But it's such, God, what she goes through. And what I love is that on some of these pages that I flagged, she has like certain insights, like stimming, for instance. She says, guess what? All people stim. I stim. I do. I twirl my hair. I crunch my toes. And I also noticed that in some of the interviews that I did, I'm noticing that my eyes go back and forth like this. I noticed that. I'm like, why do I do that? It's stimming. A book centering LGBTQ plus community characters that isn't about coming out. It's called Sorry Bro, From Wing Woman to the Woman of Her Dreams. So, does Erebony helps Nar see the beauty of their shared culture and makes her feel understood in a way she never has before. But there's one teeny problem. Nar's not exactly out as bisexual. So I'm not going to give the story away. I haven't read it myself. But there is a beautiful woman-to-woman connection here. So I decided to choose this one. A book with silver on the cover or in the title. I know I have some books with silver writing on it, and this one I chose. There's More to Life Than This by the medium herself, Teresa Caputo. Healing messages, remarkable stories, and insight about the other side from the Long Island medium herself. And classy, too. I forgot who the two authors are, but 37 and 38 both say two books with the same title, but two different authors. It's called The Third Witch. So I'll need to figure out which authors have the same title. A classic you've never read. The one that I have from the library is Frederica by Georgette Heyer. Darling Desi actually recommended this one. Otherwise, the other one that I did have a second ago. Yeah, the other one I was thinking about was The Mill on the Floss, which The Mill on the Floss I was going to read for the 2024 PopSugar Reading Challenge version because of a book published under a pen name. This was Prompt 13. A book about chosen family. Now, T.J. Klune's in the House in the Cerulean Sea is one of them. And the one I have written down here is called In the Lives of Puppets. That should be interesting. Going on now to the last 10 advanced. Here we go. A book by the oldest author in your to-be-read file. Mary Shelley is known for Frankenstein. This was The Last Man. And it takes place, it ends in 2100. I'm not sure if I'll be around to see that year. I'm not sure. But The Last Man was actually also on the list for 2024. A book set in the future. That was prompt 19. So, taken from an ancient text found abandoned in a cave, The Last Man ends in 2100, the last year of the world. A devastating worldwide plague has annihilated all of humanity except for one man who chronicles the world's demise. That's all I'm going to give you. You'll need to stick around for the book review of this one. Haven't read it yet, but who knew that Mary Shelley was ahead of her time. A book with a left-handed character. The Left-Handed Booksellers of London. Who knew? A book where nature is the antagonist. Oh my God, I could go on forever for this one. So, the one that immediately came to mind, again, there's actually two of John Krakauer. So I did mention about the book, a book about a cult under the banner of heaven. He wrote that. But John Krakauer was also one of the lucky survivors of the Mount Everest disaster. And he discusses the personal account into his book, Into Thin Air. The one that I taught my students that we read was called Into the Wild. And this was about the young man, Christopher McCandless, who despised everything about society and about, but it's like declassifying the social system of how the world works. If you go off the rails, if you decide to become like a hermit, which basically what Christopher McCandless does, he disappears. He leaves his car, he burns his clothes, he burns the money that he had. He was a college student. And he goes off on a whirlwind adventure. And he's found 4 months later. His remains are found in the abandoned bus. Nature is at the helm here. I have a few books here. Sailing Alone Around the World by Joshua Slocum. I have The Sea Wolf by Jack London. And then this was one of the books that I bought. No, sorry, I didn't get. I actually got this book. Talk about books that I got for free. I have a bunch. These were books that were withdrawn from my high school library. And this one says, The Saturday Evening Post, True Stories of Daring and Adventure. Outstanding True Stories of Man's Quest for Challenge and Adventure. A book that features a married couple who don't live together. Now, this was the only book that was written by the third sister of the Brontes. So there was Charlotte, there was Emily. This is Anne Bronte's The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. Darling Desi also recommended this one. It's about a woman who leaves her desolate, it says, Helen leaves her desolate husband in order to earn her own living and rescue her son from his influence. I am trying to read all the books I can that I'm doing for research for my own story. And what better time? Yiddish folk tales. Love the cover. The cover stood out to me. And that's why I got it. It's a beautiful book. A book that includes a non-verbal character right off the bat. It is Oprah's book club that I believe it's probably back in my public storage cabinet. It's called The Story of Edgar Sawtelle. A dystopian book with a happy ending. This one says, A Boy and His Dog at the End of the World. A book that features a character with chronic pain. I was very surprised. I didn't know this. It's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This one I was going to read for 2024, and it was supposed to be based on a prompt called, it was prompt 22, a book that centers on video games, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And last but not least, ooh, I think I skipped one. Oh, I'm sorry, I did. I'm sorry. 47, I'm sorry. A book you have always avoided reading. So, I'm not a fan of psychological thrillers or horror stories, but this one I was also going to read for the 2024 prompt, The Guest List by Lucy Foley. That one was, yeah, a book from a genre. It's basically the same thing that you typically avoid. So, where it says, you'd kill to be on it. A book of interconnected short stories. I really hope I say it right, by Edith Wharton. This is Jingzhu. And these are all interconnected stories. I was going to read this for the other challenge last year, because it was a book that starts with the letter X. Jingzhu. I'm not even sure what that means, but I actually forgot something. A book that fills a 2024 prompt you'd like to do over. So there were a couple of other books in here that I was going to try to do, such as Starling House by Alex Haro. I didn't get to finish that one. I Am the Warrior by Holly Knight. I bought her book from the LA Festival of Books last year in April. I didn't get a chance to do so I can try to also do that one too. But again, I like to get the library books out of the way. So we'll figure that out. I forgot to go back. A highly anticipated read of 2025. Go check out Goodreads, because some of these books that are highly anticipated, they're giving away free copies. These were the titles that kind of spoke to me the most of all of them. And there were several more, but these were the ones that spoke to me the most. And I'll let you know which ones are giving away free copies, but you have to sign up with Goodreads. And I think I need to redo my my account with them. Mask of the Deer Woman, The Book Club for Troublesome Women, More or Less Maddie. This is the one that you can't get for free. If you sign up, and there's, I think, and it depends on the number of book giveaways that they have. This is interesting. Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. Written in the Waters by Tara Roberts. This is about tracing the African slave trade from the shipwrecks by this diver. And again, this is when you can get a free copy. Great Big Beautiful Life. This title kind of threw me by surprise. Bury Our Bones in Midnight Soil by W.E. Schwab. Wow. Atmosphere, about the astronaut program at NASA from a woman's perspective. My Friends by Frederick Backman. Backman was the one who wrote A Man Called Ove. One of the greatest stories I've ever read. One of the best. That book can actually be considered a type of healing fiction too. And that's when you can also get a free copy if you sign up. This is by the same author whose title I have, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. She wrote another one, A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. That looks really, really cool. Fagin the Thief. This is Charles Dickens' Fagin from Oliver Twist, from his perspective and how he started. Oh, A Language of Dragons. That will definitely go with my list. Again, you can get a free copy of that. Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor Mobachu. She's the one who's responsible for Black Panther. And I also read her other book, Zara the Wind Seeker. Read that one. That is an what do they call it? An Afrofuturist genre. Oh, Wearing the Lion. The cover definitely spoke to me. It's about the labors of Hercules. The Girl from Greenwich Street. This one you can also get a free copy. This has to do with something. Now, I don't remember in Hamilton the musical if it was ever discussed or if they ever did a song about it, but it was the trial of the century, where Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr are both fighting to. One is representing the woman who was about to be executed. The other one is going against it. And you can also win a free copy. The last one, 3 Wild Dogs by Marcus Zusak, who is the author of The Book Thief. This is a memoir of his 3 wild dogs. So that is the 2025 PopSugar Reading Challenge. And the next segment, I have some more to say, so stick around. So, with the new year, I wrote down what I wanted to say here about what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I have some goals for this year that I would like to do. Hopefully, I will be well. Hopefully, this coughing and whatever I have will just... hopefully, I will be healed in the next 5 days, possibly. Anyway, goals for this year. So, one of the goals I have is to make the most of my planners to keep me on track. So both financially, my life goal planner, my personal black planner, and of course my the bibliophile. Did I even write in this one? I don't think I did. No, I didn't. So let's start off with the bibliophile. This is one that my girlfriend and I bought last year. It's a reader's journal. I do want to actually create my own for my own Book Dragon Reading Challenge list. That will come later. So this is one of those trackers. I also have this, I need to write the rest of it. This is AM, PM, morning and night reflections. So I started off with this one a little bit. Before I bought these two, I created my own planner. Alejandra from Alejandra.tv. Staples just happened to have the very last one. I love this binder. It's a soft bound binder in black, but on the inside, look at this beautiful pink. Is that beautiful? I love pink. And so I got this beautiful rainbow. You can never keep me away from the rainbow. So I got the A through Z tabs, and I often will change these out every year. But this is the index of what each of the tabs are. So I have this other planner down for other stuff. I was looking for a planner that can possibly just be basically everything, and I actually do. It's floating around somewhere. I have a pink, large sketchbook of the plans for like throughout the year. I just wanted to make the use of my happy planner without having to buy another one, because I hate rebuying those things. But one of them I actually wanted to do was, this is the one that actually came in that box. This is the financial planner, and I put a whole bunch of stickers on it. Yeah, my financial life's vision statement. And this is where you can, it talks about how to get out of debt. It keeps you on this financial track to earn your reward, monthly financial budgeting process, and step 1 in your financial goals. It basically breaks everything down for you. Raise monthly cash flow, create new positive, empowering habits. And it also comes with a calendar, notes, ideas, spending summary or expense tracker, and then receipts. They're these little envelopes that you have your receipts and bills, so you can put those in there. And then these envelopes, I forgot what these are used for. These are supposed to be for budgeting cash flow envelope system. There's a bunch of them. So each of them said, yeah, all of these have special statements that say, that have like a positive affirmation. You can put money in here for, like, you know, if you have a budget of what you're allowed to spend, like if you get your checks in the mail, if you even do that anymore, and what I was told is that whatever money you earn, you put 20% away in your savings, maybe put 10 towards your IRA, and then the rest goes into your checking account. And just keep track. Also, something I didn't tell you guys, last year, unexpectedly, I think this was around, I think it happened in like late October, and it was just one added aggravation after the next. I had to put in a check for the DMV. They didn't get it. And it's a good thing that I checked. It's a good thing that the bank called me. Someone had washed one of my checks, taking off your information, but they can't change the checking account number. So they called me and asked if I made this check out to this so-and-so. and I had them check the checking number. I had them check, and I'm like, that was the check to the DMV. That is not for that price. Do not cash it. Throw it away. And I had to go to the bank, change the checking account number, make sure all the information was out, and then I had to pay for the DMV online. But yeah, so this is a financial planner, and I want to keep all of my receipts, all of my bills in here instead of in a large box that is going to get nowhere. So this is a special financial tracker, and this is from the Freedom Mastery Collection. Now, when you buy one of their planners, each one, I was surprised, they came with 3 10% coupons when you go to their direct site. I bought this off Amazon. But if you go to their site, if you buy something from Amazon, it's presented to you with 3 10% coupons. And if you go to the Freedom Mastery site, you can use those coupons there. I was hoping to use them on Amazon, but they didn't work. And finally, we come to this one. Life Mastery Planner, Life and Goal Planner, undated, premium, weekly, and monthly. So this is work, self-care, and habit tracker. So I already wrote down what I want. How I would love my life to be: free of worry and resolved. My mission statement: how I want to contribute to this world, educate the masses through reading and art. That's one of the things that I'm gonna discuss, and create a tuition scholarship for students. That's one of my biggest goals. So we'll see what happens with that. But this is a great tracker for that. I normally don't discuss birthday gifts, but because they have to do with keeping track, I was very surprised. A couple of years ago, I was watching Emma Watson's What's in My Bag, and I actually bought a few of the products that she actually had, including her water bottle that I actually have here. But the one that she did have in her bag, I was looking for this on Amazon and I could not find it. What did my brother's girlfriend get me? She got me this. The exact same one, the 5-minute journal. I already have a 5-minute journal from that I was using for this last year, but I was just so surprised that she surprised me with it, and I'm like, oh, really? Such a sweetheart. And now my brother was the one who got into Harry Potter before I did. So what did he do? He got me the Gryffindor House tea bags, breakfast blend. And I guess it's supposed to be a wand with my birthstone. It's a teaspoon. I thought that was the most coolest thing. So this will be added to my Harry Potter collection. I love it. And my mother and I communicate telepathically, I swear. I had it on Amazon. I wanted to have my own embossing seal. I can't believe she got this for me. These are the gold seals. Look at this. From the library of, and it says my name, and there's a dragon on it. I was stoked. It's a beautiful, it was kind of hard to figure out how to actually use it. Yeah, it goes way back here, and then you press on the emboss. So you put one of these little seals in, and you can emboss your books. You can emboss a piece of lettering, so the seal will come off on the foil. But this is such a beautiful, beautiful gift. I wasn't expecting that, so thank you, Mom, for getting that for me. I'll take really, really, really good care of this one. So, other goals. To recharge, I do actually have a health and diet plan. If anyone has ever taken on the Conqueror challenges, I've tried a few times, including the Lord of the Rings bundle. But depression, it can overtake anything, and no matter how hard you try, depression does not change overnight, and it really just it really just did a huge number on me. I'm still suffering from it, and I ended up seeing a psychotherapist who's been helping me along the way. But this time I really want to make them count. So let me show you what I have for the health goals for this year. Okay, so before I go over the health plan, I thought I had 3 before the Lord of the Rings, but I guess not. So this was, I believe this was the first one. This was the Conqueror challenge for London. And then I also have the one for the Cotswold Way. This is one place I would really love to go back to if I ever get a chance to go back to London. But yeah, so I earned these. I lost maybe a couple of pounds doing the Conqueror challenges, but also at the time I was having really bad neck issues and I couldn't walk all the time. So basically I was on the bike, the recumbent bike, most of the time, which didn't really do anything. And the other thing is I also didn't change my eating habits. And then of course we have the Lord of the Rings, all 5 of them. And I was so depressed. Nothing really changed. And I forget which one was the last one. But the medals are absolutely beautiful. So this one here, this is the Fellowship. Just like that. And the ring is inside. Just like that. And of course it has the Elvish writing on it. I bought the one ring for my brother. I think I got it in silver. If I'm not mistaken. But it's beautiful. Ring is right there and therefore it'll stay. Then we have the Fellowship. That's really cool. Followed by the Mines of Moria. And this is really cool. The doors open. Let's see if I can get it to open. Yep, just like that. Is that cool? Beautiful. Eye of Sauron. Check out that medal right there. Ooh, scary as that. And finally, the last one, Mordor. Holy cow, this is huge. Wow, did I even see this one? Oh my god. Oh, that's cool. It looks like it acts like a belt buckle kind of. Look at this. That is really cool. Jeez. Creepy kind of too, but anyway, that was the Conqueror challenge for Lord of the Rings. Because I am a book dragon, I wanted to do something literary. I wanted to take the challenge to Mordor and all the way to Lord of the Rings, and depression just took over. I'm going to show you. So right now through January 14th, if you go to, for those of you that are on the Conqueror challenge right now, right up until January 14th, they have a special price for creating your own 2025 bundle. Once you go onto their site and there's a challenge that you would like to choose from, once you click on it, it will show you the 20% off price. You can get 2 each that will be each marked off 20%. If you get 1 more, you will get the Conqueror Challenge 2025. That's the one where you can set your own distance. So the one that I am doing right now is the Lake District. Now, the reason I chose the Lake District is because of the author who's behind in saving the Lake District. And of course, that is Beatrix Potter. This is the Beatrix Potter Giant Treasury. This has all of her books in one go. I think I've had this since I was a kid, if I'm not mistaken. This is all of the stories, all of her special treasures. So, but yeah, she's responsible for helping the Lake District maintain its beauty, and it's basically like an historic national park and landmark even. So that was one of them. The other 2 I chose. This time we're going to Ireland. So the next one that will follow is Dublin and the Ring of Kerry. What I would like to do is to just do a brief history of each of these places from a literary perspective, and then let you know on a sort of like a daily basis as to what I'm doing along with those challenges. The last one will be the Conqueror 2025. That medal has a phoenix on it. So the plan is this. The month of January, I'm going to complete the Lake District. February is going to be Dublin. And then March is going to be the Ring of Kerry, right around the time of St. Patrick's Day. And what better way to celebrate it than that? So by April, the plan that I should be on is I will set my own distance for the Conqueror Challenge. I don't know how many miles I will accumulate by the time I'm done. I have to look back at the mileage. But the plan that I have, what I am going to do is I have a bunch of these binders with health and food articles and recipes and exercise regimens. And what I plan to do is, in order to get myself to where I want to be, let me just give you guys a little, I really don't do anything personal, but I am just going to show you guys this. Right up until my thyroid surgery, I used to be 5'6". When they measured me for my height before surgery, turns out I shrank 2 inches. So now I'm 5'4", and my weight as of this morning was 230. I went to the Medical USA Today website, and I did a BMI calculation. Always look at the body mass index. My body mass right now is 39.5, which is obese. So that is a huge red flag. And after my last blood work, my triglyceride levels are... So I need to be aware of that. So what I am going to do is... So that's the plan. Try one type of exercise regimen for 1 month and one type of diet food recipe thing for the same month. And then I will change it for the next month and so on and so on and so forth. So I was looking at my favorite series is Friends, and I happened to print out this article. What is Jennifer Aniston's 15-15-15 workout plan, and is it healthy? So, and I've actually tried it like last week before I became extremely sick again. Monday, 15-15-15 cardio. So 15 minutes of cardio, break, 15 minutes cardio, break, 15 minutes cardio, break. Tuesday is 30 minutes of resistance training. So this is weightlifting. It could be, I have something right now. So for cardio, I'm doing the recumbent bike, the treadmill, and the regular indoor bike. Resistance training, I bought the Gold's Gym home gym from Walmart. If you go to Walmart, they actually should... They should still have those in stock. I finally put it up, and man, that thing really does give you a workout. Wednesday is 30 minutes of yoga. I have yoga books, but it's so difficult to read and do yoga at the same time. So I have a DVD called Gayam Yoga, and I have the strap and the mat for that one. Thursday is, again, 15-15-15 cardio. Friday, 30 minutes of resistance training. Saturday is activity leisure day. This could be gardening, walking, a golf or tennis match. Once the archery classes come up again, I would like to go back to archery. And finally, Sunday is a complete rest day. That is the exercise plan for the month of January. We'll see how that goes. And this one is a 1-month diet cheat sheet. So this is protein plus veggies plus healthy fats. So this is 2 pounds weight loss per week. That is equal to 8 pounds per month. Eat whole and real. Start by cutting out processed and packaged foods, alcohol, added sugar, and refined carbs as much as possible. Your kitchen should be stocked with foods like veggies, fruit, nuts, nut butter, eggs, avocado, farro, I guess that's some sort of a grain, brown rice, olive oil, salmon, and grass-fed beef. One of the things that I started doing to change my eating habit, I started using olive oil for my salads instead of the creamy dressings. Olive oil is supposed to be a really good it's a really good healthy fat, and it actually is supposed to, I think it's supposed to break down the triglycerides. Treat every meal like a Monday morning. If you slip up on one meal, this doesn't mean that the whole day has gone down the drain. Treat every opportunity to eat as an individual one. Follow this formula. Protein plus veggies plus healthy fat equals weight loss. Don't forget it. Protein pack your morning. So proteins in the morning. This prevents overeating in the afternoon. Eat greens twice a day. You can get them from salads, smoothies, soup, or even eggs. Actually, this morning, I'll post a picture of it here. I actually took a hard-boiled egg, took half an avocado, mashed it up a little, added some chickpeas, and a tablespoon of the vegan, oh my gosh, follow your heart vegan mayonnaise. And then, of course, I also had my carbs. I had some French toast with berries, syrup, a cup of orange juice, and my tea. That one last hurrah. Take a probiotic and add in fermented foods 1 time per day. Well, probiotics really have never really worked for me, and I'm trying this thing called Seed. It's actually a combination of both a pro and a prebiotic. We'll see how that goes. But getting into the habit of having a full glass of water with a probiotic every morning will seriously help your gut health. And I'll get to the water thing in just a minute. And last but not least, skip the sugary drinks. Drink water, tea, a little coffee, and that's it. So that's what this article is here. If you guys want, I will have the links to these articles below. And speaking of water, no longer 64 ounces. What I really should be having is 96 ounces of water a day. So I've already had 64. I got another hour, so I want to gouge this one down. One of my other goals is I wrote a play. And then I finally wrote to the Dramatists Guild Institute, and I asked them, do I need to be a student in order to purchase this play in progress? It's called a PIP. So as soon as I save up enough to pay for that, I'm going to do that. I'm going to send in my play. I'd like to get some feedback. But what they did say, no, you don't have to be a student. If you wrote a play, and if you want some a professional opinion, you can do something called a play in progress. You can purchase a play in progress. This will be read by members of the staff. And you can actually write to the Guild Institute to ask them, who are the best people to write when it comes to musicals or plays or short plays, script writing and all that. Yeah, they are there to help guide you along the way. I don't want to say it's a hefty price, but it's for the kind of personal review, they're getting their money's worth. So the PIP, last I checked, was about $250 to be read by the reviewers. So we'll see what happens with that. My other goal is to read all the books for my research in order to complete one story for this year. We'll see what happens with that. Complete the PopSugar Reading Challenge and possibly my own Book Dragon reading challenge. This is my own drawing. I definitely want to make it more me. And I recently bought the Adobe Creative Suite while it was at a good price. And I really would like to actually make this channel into a business. So I'd actually like to see about using this as my trademark. I'd like to get your opinion on this, because what I like to do is, as soon as I'm well, I'm going to be making a new trailer for my channel. And I will go over, my voice is so sore. I will go over the Dragon list, my Book Dragon reading challenge list, another time. And anyway, everyone, be safe. This is the start of a new year for us. Unfortunately, this morning, last I checked, 15 people are now dead. Great start to the new year from this ISIS-hated terrorist truck driver. Life was ended with a firefight with police. Good. But, guys, just be mindful. Be aware. Be respectful. Don't treat each other like crap. Treat each other with respect. And there's been some word about more book bans that is driving me up the wall. So, and I hope to hear back from the people that I wrote to. And keep yourselves well. Please be mindful specifically, and this is something I need to work on. Mental health is just as important as physical health. Do not leave that to chance, because if you let it go, it can kill you. Do not end up like that. And I wish you all the best. So good luck, my book dragons. This is the new year. We are in for the ride of our lives. Let's make it count. I'll see you guys later.